2010, there have been an estimated 52 million unborn aborted according to Life News. Abortion will be the hot topic of the 2012 presidential election, and while this debate is important, it is also essential to understand the issue within abortion, which is personhood. I am passionate about this topic because I myself am pro-life as well, but I also believe it is important to understand why I have chosen this viewpoint. Personhood begins at the time of conception, and one can see that this is fact based on the analysis of other theories. I will be discussing today about the concept of personhood, when personhood begins, why conception is the right choice, and how we can miss God's value on human life. The personhood argument states that the fetus is a full human person from the moment of conception, and therefore it is our duty to not harm it. According to philosopher Mary Ann Warren, she came up with a simple list of how one is qualified as a person. 1, they must have consciousness and the capacity to feel pain, reasoning, self-motivated activity, capacity to communicate, and the presence of self-awareness. Now these qualifications are based on if the fetus is presently functioning, but there is another approach that we can look at, and that is the capacity to function in that manner. Stephen Schwartz calls this our basic inherent capacity, which says that there is something about a human person that gives him the capacity to function as a person, and that is our human nature. Now, any medical scientist can tell you that the human organism is formed at the moment of conception. The question is, however, when does personhood start? There are 3 general answers to this question. The first is, we don't know, and this is called the agnostic theory. The second is the decisive moment in pregnancy, and the third is personhood gradually develops over the course of pregnancy. Now, the agnostic theory states that no one understands when personhood begins. Therefore, we should all disregard the question and accept that abortion is justifiable in all situations. However, there are 2 problems to this. If no one knows, then what is it to stop someone from killing a 2- or 3-year-old because that individual didn't believe that personhood started until age 3? Also, by allowing abortion, the agnostics have already said that personhood begins sometime after birth. Now, the next theory is the decisive moment theory. This is an exact moment when personhood begins during pregnancy. There are 8 specific theories: conception, implantation, brain development, appearance of humanness, sentience, which is the ability to feel pain, quickening, viability, and lastly, birth. The last theory is gradualism, and there is no specific moment when personhood begins. It is considered gradual. This is a theory, and there's no evidence behind it. Now, to explain gradualism, at birth, the gradualist theory says that the fetus is not considered a person. However, gradually over the pregnancy and at birth, it therefore becomes a person. The biggest problem with this is that it is saying that the person is coming from nothing. And the biggest deal is that something cannot come from nothing. Why is conception the correct theory and why are the other ones incorrect? According to Foreman, there are 3 reasons why conception is considered correct. The first is the continuum of identity. Because of basic inherent capacity, we have the same identity throughout time. The second reason is the continuum of essential structure. The essential structure is present for conception, and it develops into different forms over time. The continuum of capacities is the last reason, and as individuals, we have the present capacities to function as a person, but they are all based on the basic capacities from the time of conception. Now, how do we as individuals miss God's value of human life? As Christians, we should have a firm understanding of when we believe personhood begins. For those of us that do not agree with conception, we are undermining God by saying that His creation, His miracle, is not alive or a person until some other point. According to Alvin, God values human life, and in Isaiah 45:1b it says, "Before I was born, the Lord called me. From my mother's womb, He has spoken my name." Before we were even born, God knew us. So who is to say that we are not a person? Overall today, we have learned what it means to be a person and the different views that one can have on the beginning of personhood. I would encourage you all to understand that it is at the point of conception that personhood begins, and because of that, any harm to the unborn is considered wrong and unjust. Lastly, I'd like to remind you, as the 2012 elections are approaching, to research into what the candidates' stances are on the topic of abortion and personhood. Because as Christians, we want someone running our country with the same morals and values as all of us.